What's going on, and welcome to the Solo Shot. We have a 15-game MLB slate tonight. It starts at 7:05. As always, this is one of the many shows on the FanDuel Podcast Network. You can find that anywhere, whether it's iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play. Make sure to give it a like, follow, or subscribe. A review, that is greatly appreciated. My name is Tom Vecchio. I'm one of the writers and analysts at numberFire.com. You can follow me on Twitter at DFS_Tom. Jim Sonis is out for one more day. I am here for the final time covering the Solo Shot. I will be back today at 4 o'clock for the Q&A session. Jim will be back tomorrow covering the Solo Shot at 9 a.m. We have a lot to get into, but first, listen up, golf fans. This weekend features another exciting PGA Tour event, the Palmetto Championship at the beautiful Congaree Golf Club in South Carolina. The field is stacked with golfers such as Brooks Koepka, Matt Fitzpatrick, and Dustin Johnson. FanDuel is giving you an opportunity to get in on the action by creating a fantasy lineup of your favorite golfers for less than $8. You'll have the opportunity to win a part of the $100,000 prize pool. So head over to FanDuel and create your lineups today. For more details, visit FanDuel.com, download the FanDuel Fantasy app, and of course, eligibility restrictions apply. We have a massive 15-game slate tonight. We have fantastic pitching options, of course, plenty of hitting options. But first, we need to take a look at the weather because we are in a spot where there are a number of games that could be impacted by rain. As always, I will always recommend Kevin Roth on Twitter. Meteorologist, does plenty of work around the fantasy industry. Someone I've followed for many years in terms of DFS, weather, football, baseball. So right now we have weather concerns with the Mets at the Orioles, the Braves at the Phillies, some potential for the Dodgers at the Pirates, the Mariners at the Tigers, the Astros at the Red Sox, the Brewers at the Reds. We have multiple games that are potentially impacted by rain. Of course, these are to a varying degree. It seems that the Red Sox have a bad game, a bad weather game potentially ahead, and that's a game we can certainly see postponed. The Dodgers and the Pirates, that one is certainly looking good, and then obviously a few games in between. So we are worried about weather tonight, a number of games. Outside of that, the top tier at pitching tonight is absolutely loaded. There are 5 pitchers above $10,000, led by Shane Bieber at 11.5, Tyler Glasnow at $11,000, Walker Buehler at 10.8, Carlos Rodon at 10.6, and Framber Valdez at $10,000. Now, right off the jump, we have Framber Valdez in a tough matchup going up against Boston. We also have this game potentially dealing with some weather issues. So that certainly puts him, I'm going to say, last on the list of these 5. We're going to be ranking them. I'm going to be going in reverse order. So Valdez is certainly last. We also see the Red Sox coming in tonight with a 4.81 implied run total. That's the second highest on the slate. I'm not sure we want to be taking a pitcher over $10,000 going up against a strong offense. You know, this would make him a good GPP option just because he's probably not going to be very popular. So between the matchup and the weather, I certainly think Valdez is the last on the list. Rodon, great pitcher, has a tough matchup. We know Toronto has plenty of home run upside. I still like the strikeout potential for Rodon, but we have to put him last on this list. Then I would put Walker Buehler at 10.8. We're obviously working with a fantastic matchup going up against Pittsburgh. We have seen Walker Buehler at times this season fail to go super deep into games, which is always a concern. Dave Roberts historically is a pitcher that I guess, at least when I roster Dodgers pitchers, he pulls them too early, even though they are in a good spot. Then it's going to be Shane Bieber as the number 2 option for me tonight. He's on the road in St. Louis, which means he has to hit tonight. They do not have the DH, of course, limiting his potential to go further into games. It's something we, of course, have to be worried about. I'm not worried about the St. Louis matchup. We'll get to some of their numbers. We'll get to Bieber's numbers, of course, because they're great. And that leaves Tyler Glasnow, $11,000 as my favorite pitcher on tonight's slate at home in Tampa Bay. Fantastic matchup going up against Washington, and of course, a great pitcher's park. Now, when we are breaking down these top 5 pitchers, you know, we're splitting hairs a little bit. Rodon has a 37.2% strikeout rate. Like I said, I love his strikeout upside. Absolutely love it. But the matchup is just harder for him than it is for some, compared to someone like Tyler Glasnow, who's carrying a 35.6% strikeout rate. Bieber is also with a 35.6% strikeout rate, but Bieber's more expensive, and of course, he has to hit in a National League Park tonight. So we're dealing with very, very minor differences between a lot of these pitchers. Rodon comes in with a 2.52 Sierra, Glasnow is at 2.92, and Shane Bieber is at 2.95. Again, we are splitting hairs down to the minutia here for these pitchers, but at least that's good, right? We're dealing with all these awesome pitchers on tonight's slate. So again, ranking them: Tyler Glasnow, number 1, Shane Bieber, number 2, Walker Buehler, number 3, Rodon, number 4, and then Framber Valdez, number 5. And this is accounting for everything: their salaries, their matchups, their parks. Like, again, Bieber on the road in the National League Park, and he's more expensive than Glasnow. So why not just look to Glasnow, who's a little bit cheaper? So really the top tier. If you're playing cash games tonight, it's an awesome slate. If you're playing tournaments tonight, it's an awesome slate. There are plenty of options. I'm still going to be looking to Walker Buehler tonight. As I said, not really worried about the matchup against Pittsburgh, more worried about the fact that his ability to go deeper into games and seemingly getting pulled too early at times. We look to Pittsburgh's offensive numbers this season versus right-handed pitchers, and it's not something we're worried about at all. They don't strike out a whole lot at 22.8%, but they're carrying an 83 WRC plus, which is 28th in the league. They're carrying a 118 team ISO versus right-handed pitchers. That is dead last in the league. Again, the matchup is not something that we're worried about. The strikeout upside and his potential to go further into games is something that we are concerned about. Certainly looking at Glasnow, of course, with his 35.6% strikeout rate, 2.92 Sierra. Washington is a team that also doesn't strike out a whole lot, 22.3%. And again, I mentioned, I think it was on Friday when I was doing the solo shot, that Washington's their offense is actually not as good as most people think it is. They are carrying a 136 team ISO, which is 27th in the league versus right-handed pitching. Washington also comes in with an 87 WRC plus, which is 23rd in the league. Really not a powerful offense, not the Nationals offense that we have historically looked at, or not historically, but over at least the past 4, 5, 6 seasons, whatever it might be, as a very, very strong offense. They're certainly not it this season. So I will be looking at Glasnow as the number 1 option on this slate. I'm not going to say it's by a large margin. It is very, very close because we're dealing with just so many good hitters. So we have Walker Buehler. We have Tyler Glasnow. I do like Rodon, as I said, that 37.2% strikeout rate, 2.52 Sierra is absolutely awesome. Again, Toronto is an offense that does have power. They come in with a 112 WRC plus. That's the 3rd best in the league. We also see Toronto coming in with a 186 team ISO versus righties. That's the 4th best in the league. So we are dealing with some potential for offense from Toronto. This is nothing new. We can look to stack them on most slates. They don't strike out a whole lot. They're actually 26th in the league with a 22.4% strikeout rate. I think that this is why we're going to see both Rodon and Framber Valdez as the 2 just least popular options among these top 5 pitchers. And that makes them great for tournaments, right? We can factually say that Bieber, Glasnow, and Buehler have easier matchups compared to Rodon facing Toronto and Valdez facing Boston. So if you're willing to take on a little bit of risk, why not look to both of those pitchers in tournaments? You can certainly look to Bieber, Glasnow, or Buehler when it comes to cash games. So looking at Glasnow, number 1, Bieber, number 2, Buehler, 3, and then Rodon and Valdez. Again, worried about the weather with Valdez pitching for Houston in Boston. That game is something we certainly have to keep an eye on. That game has an over-under sitting at 10. We see the Astros actually leading the slate with a 5.19 implied run total, and the Sox are right behind them at 4.81. So taking a pitcher in a game with the highest over-under, this team with the second highest implied run total, is not necessarily something I want to be doing for safety. Now, the strikeout upside for Valdez is there. Also, you're hoping to get him super, super low rostership percentage. The striker rate for Valdez this year is sitting at 30.4%. So he is a good pitcher. He has strikeout upside. But now let's turn to stacks. We want to be focusing on which pitchers we want to be attacking tonight. And we're going to be going back to one of the teams for one of the pitchers, and that is actually the Cleveland Indians. They're going up against Carlos Martinez. We see the Indians coming in with a modest 3.84 implied run total. Now, I actually think that that's too low, and this is one of the teams I want to be turning to tonight to kind of fill some gaps in my lineups because there are other teams which are more expensive that have higher implied run totals. We look to Martinez this season, and he's really not striking out anyone. He has a 13.3% strikeout rate this year. That is so low. Now, he did spend a bit of time on the IL, so he only has 54 innings under his belt this season. He's also only allowing 0.50 home runs per 9, and he's allowing he has a 5.8% home run fly ball ratio, which is far below the league average, far below what he did last year. He should has some regression to the mean. He should see that, drop increase to, 18 or 20-ish%, which is generally what we see the league average. He got destroyed the last time out, going up against the Dodgers. The other time was the Diamondbacks before that. 10 earned runs in 0.2 innings, 4 walks. 3 earned runs against the Diamondbacks isn't that bad, obviously. But really looking to the Indians tonight as a potential stacking team, I'm not convinced that Martinez is back to where he was. Jose Ramirez comes in leading the Indians with a 153 WRC plus versus right-handed pitching this year with a 347 ISO. We could, of course, be looking to him. Harold Ramirez is another player I've looked to recently, a 92 WRC plus. He only has a 127 ISO. For the Indians, they actually are dealing with a number of injuries right now. Jordan Luplow is out. Franmil Reyes is out. We'd like to see those players in there just because they have plenty of power. Eddie Rosario comes in with a 78 WRC plus versus righties. Of course, is a player that we've seen historically very strong versus right-handed pitching, having a bit of a slow year. We could be looking to him hopefully for some positive regression as well. Josh Naylor at a 170 ISO and a 114 WRC plus. Multiple options from the Indians I think we can be looking to. And outside of Jose Ramirez, who's $4,000, all of the other options are less than $3,000. Eddie Rosario is $2,900. Harold Ramirez is $2,700. I think that they're both firmly in play. Cesar Hernandez is $2,200, not bringing really any power versus righties. Only a 108 WRC plus. This is a player I would only use in a stack because you want to capture the potential upside for the entire team, not him specifically. He also has a 69 WRC plus, below league average. And then Josh Naylor is only $2,000. He's the minimum salary. So, paying up for Jose Ramirez at $4,000 kind of is balanced out when you are potentially taking 2 players that are below $2,500. So certainly looking to the Indians tonight. Again, a 3.84 implied run total, I think, is a bit too low. Next up, the Cincinnati Reds. They are going up against Adrian Hauser from the Milwaukee Brewers. They have a 4.50 implied run total tonight. That is certainly very strong. We look to Hauser's numbers this season. He comes in with a modest 21.2% strikeout rate, 10.2% walk rate, which is certainly not good. He's allowing 1.15 home runs per 9. Not what we want to be seeing. He has a 4.13 Sierra and a 3.76 xFIP. We look to the Cincinnati Reds for plenty of home run upside, as we saw over the weekend for them. They are at home in the Great American Small Park, a ballpark which has plenty of home run upside. They are a team that has plenty of power. Jesse Winker is coming in with a 214 WRC plus this season versus right-handed pitchers and a 366 ISO. A 366 ISO versus right-handed pitchers this year for Jesse Winker is absolutely unbelievable. It doesn't stop there. Nick Castellanos, a 173 WRC plus, a 253 ISO. Tyler Naquin, a 127 WRC plus, a 262 ISO. We can even look to Tucker Barnhart at a 124 ISO and a 140 a 124 WRC plus and a 140 ISO. Jonathan India with a 175 ISO and a 123 WRC plus. Eugenio Suarez is struggling this year. He certainly has plenty of power. He has a 233 ISO, but he has a 77 WRC plus. So a player that is somewhat boom or bust when it comes to the plate. He also is carrying a rough 26.9, a 29.6% strikeout rate versus right-handed pitching. So he is a full boom or bust option when it comes to his power upside. But I absolutely love this stack tonight. Jesse Winker is certainly expensive at $4,400, along with Nick Castellanos at $3,700, but then immediately becomes very affordable with Eugenio Suarez at $2,900, Tucker Barnhart at $2,700. So certainly the main players I'll be looking to. Jonathan India could be in the leadoff spot tonight. He's only $2,400. So we're working with multiple options from the Reds tonight, all with plenty of power upside. Some of them are very affordable, and of course, a great park factor at home in Cincinnati. Adrian Hauser, not a pitcher you should be worried about. He is mainly a ground ball pitcher, but certainly the home runs are very prevalent right now with a 27.3% home run to fly ball ratio. And in this ballpark, and with the power that the Reds have, I am not worried about that one bit. I'm looking to the Reds very, very comfortably tonight. And then finally, we want to be looking to the Philadelphia Phillies tonight. They come with a 4.66 implied run total. That is the third highest on the slate. They are going up against Drew Smyly from the Atlanta Braves. Now, again, this game is in Philly. We are dealing with some weather concerns here. So this is a spot where we have to wait and get more information. We have to see what the weather report says throughout the day, because this truly is a great matchup for the Phillies. Looking to Drew Smyly this year, not a matchup we need to be worried about. A matchup we want to be actively attacking. He's coming in allowing 2.70 home runs per nine, a low 21.1% strikeout rate, a 4.47 SIERA, and a 4.74 xFIP. He has a 44.7% fly ball ratio this year, was absolutely terrible, along with a 39.9% hard contact rate allowed and a 12.5% barrel rate allowed. Not good for Drew Smyly. This means that we want to be going to the Phillies. I expect them to be very popular tonight, as you would expect, with the third highest implied run total on the slate. So who do we go to on the Philadelphia Phillies? Well, they have plenty of hitting options. Rhys Hoskins has a 180 WRC plus in this split versus left-handed pitchers. We can, of course, be looking at him for plenty of power upside. He comes in with a 288 ISO. Andrew McCutchen has a 329 ISO and a 173 WRC plus. He is $3,500 tonight. Andrew McCutchen is one of my favorite options on tonight's slate. We do see Bryce Harper returning from the IL recently, obviously a lefty-lefty matchup for him. A 0.067 ISO this season for him against lefties. Not expecting too much power from him, but he does have a 115 WRC plus, which is, of course, good to see in a player that you can realistically be adding to any Phillies stack. Odubel Herrera has a 138 WRC plus and a 154 ISO, of course, always an option. JT Realmuto is struggling with the power this year with only a 135 ISO, but has a 122 WRC plus. Now, this stack is certainly on the more expensive end. It's not super, super expensive. McCutchen is $3,500. Harper is $3,400. Realmuto comes in at 33, and you can look to Rhys Hoskins at 33 as well. Odubel Herrera is 29. So it's not super expensive, but we're also not getting a ton of value. Dipping further down into the Phillies lineup, really limits some of your power upside. If you're taking Alec Baum or Ronald Torreyes, they're not bringing too much power upside, and you'd really only be looking to them if you're trying to differentiate the, what should be a very, chalky stack for the Phillies tonight. All players under $4,000, all players that have clear power upside. We probably should see, if we leave off Harper because of the lefty-lefty matchup, McCutchen, Realmuto, Hoskins, and Herrera, it's not a super correlated stack because we do see Herrera sometimes dropping further down into the lineup. But you could take a three-man stack of McCutchen at number 1, potentially, Realmuto at 5, and Hoskins batting in the 4th spot. If you want to throw in Harper in there, go for it. He's only $3,400. So really looking to the Phillies tonight, but very concerned about the weather in this matchup. So that is something we need to get more info on as the day goes on. The three final things on tonight's slate. Number one would be a pitcher further down the list that you can be taking a look at tonight. You want to go for a bit of upside or a bit of differentiating and upside in tournaments. Jordan Montgomery for the New York Yankees coming in at $7,900. He is on the road taking on the Minnesota Twins. We've seen some really nice ceiling games from Montgomery this season, especially as of late. 52, 58, and 44 FanDuel points, reaching past 9 strikeouts multiple times. He only comes in with a 24.4% strikeout rate this season, but he shouldn't be too popular. He's $7,900, which is obviously very, very solid salary if you're looking to pay up for some hitters. The matchup going up against the Twins is, I want to say, good. We've certainly seen them struggle this season compared to, all of that power and all of that home run potential that they brought over the past 2 seasons, 3 seasons, whatever it's been. Minnesota right now comes in with a 25.1% strikeout rate versus left-handed pitching. That's the 9th worst in the league. So there are some strikeouts in this Twins lineup. Now, of course, there's plenty of danger in this Twins lineup. They have a 108 WRC plus versus lefties. They also come in with a 196 ISO versus lefties, which is the 3rd best in the league. So the Twins are a team that are somewhat boom or bust. They have some strikeouts in that lineup. And they also have plenty of home run upside. But if the home runs aren't there, Montgomery is a pitcher that can certainly, take advantage of those strikeouts, as we've seen him reach for 9, 6, and 11 strikeouts in some of these recent starts. Going for 44 plus FanDuel points in 3 of your past 6 starts is certainly something that I have interest in. So Montgomery is a pitcher that I'll be looking to in tournaments tonight. Now, to end things, 2 more things to look at. 2 players that I really like for some home run potential. Number one would be Brandon Crawford for the San Francisco Giants. They are on the road. They are visiting the Texas Rangers. This is a bit of a positive part shift for the Giants tonight. They're going up against Jordan Lyles. Jordan Lyles this season, as he has in the past, struggling with some home runs. Also struggling with some fly balls. Now, when it comes to targeting pitchers who give up home runs, I like to target pitchers that are at or above a 40% fly ball rate in the given split and a 40% hard contact rate. If we can find this 40-40 line, we're generally in a good spot and match it up with hitters who are also at or around that 40-40 line for fly balls and hard contact rates. So Jordan Lyles is allowing a 45.6% fly ball rate to lefties this year, along with a 40.3% hard contact rate. We flip to Brandon Crawford this year, who has a 42% fly ball rate against righties, along with a 38.6% hard contact rate versus righties. So he's approaching that 40-40 line, matching up with Jordan Lyles, who's also at that 40-40 mark. So I like Brandon Crawford for home run upside tonight. We do see the Giants with a 4.20 implied run total. That's around the middle of the slate. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be interested in stacking the Giants, but if I'm going with like a 4-3-1 lineup build in terms of stacking, that one-off certainly could be Brandon Crawford tonight. And then one more hitter for some power upside could be Rougned Odor for the New York Yankees. Now, we know their lineup is mostly right-handers, but they need to get some left-handed power in that lineup. We see Rougned Odor coming in with a 43.8% fly ball rate and a 30% hard contact rate, obviously a little bit lower than we want to see. But he is going up against Michael Pineda, who's giving up a 51.4% fly ball rate to lefties this year, only a 29.2% hard contact rate. So a little bit of positives and negatives on both sides for the hitter and the pitcher in this matchup for Rougned Odor facing Michael Pineda. But we do see Pineda giving up 1.82 home runs per 9 to lefties this year with a modest 23.5% strikeout rate and a 4.46 xFIP. So the home run upside has always been there against Pineda really throughout his career. Rougned Odor is a pitcher we only target when he's going up against righties because he really doesn't bring a whole lot against lefties. And then we should see Rougned Odor in the lineup because the Yankees are mostly right-handed, dominant lineup that they need some lefties in there just to mix it up. And Rougned Odor is only $2,300 tonight. So this slate, I want to say, is absolutely led off by these fantastic pitching options that we have at the top. Tyler Glasnow is my number 1 tonight, Shane Bieber number 2, Walker Buehler number 3, Carlos Rodon number 4, and then Framber Valdez at number 5. Looking to the Indians tonight as a stack, I think that they are in a good spot against Carlos Martinez. Really not too worried. He's been looking rough as of late. The Phillies should be very popular tonight. We are worried about the rain in that game, so we need to get some updates on that. I'll certainly be looking there. And then Cincinnati at home. All of the home run upside that the Reds bring tonight, I think, is firmly on the table versus Adrian Houser. That really should be a solid game to stack. All right, so that does it for today's podcast. We'll be back at 4 p.m. for the Q&A, and then Jim Sonis will be back tomorrow for the solo shot and the Q&A. As always, this is one of the many shows of the FanDuel Podcast Network. You can find it anywhere, whether it's iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play. Make sure to give it a like, follow, subscribe, review. That is greatly appreciated. And you can follow me on Twitter at DFS_Tom.